I'm always encouraging people to jump on the AI bandwagon, but not allow it to displace them. Rather, get yourself coached up on it, learn about it, learn how you can use it to your best ability.
You're tuned into Right Media Group Chronicles, the place where stories, strategies, and sparks of inspiration come to life. Let's get into it.
So my guest is Mark Wilder, who is the founder of Wilder 2. Mark, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me. Please introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Thanks. Well, it's great to be here. As you mentioned, I'm the founder of Wilder 2. I'm also the creative director for the agency, and I founded the agency in 2012. So we're in our 13th year. My background is client-side work. I was the vice president of marketing for a company called Music Group before I started the agency. Because of my background in music, I tend to have a lot of clients in the music and audio space, although that's not exclusive. I also have clients in consumer products. I've done consumer packaged goods, even a lot of B2B work, SaaS work. So it's not exclusive to music and audio, but it tends to be kind of a specialty for us. I'm also a music producer and a composer, and I have music on television every day on Fox Sports 1. So I have a very interesting creative background, and I just love working in the marketing space. It's been a passion of mine for about 25 years. And what else can I say? It's really great to be here on the podcast.
Lovely. Well, thank you very much for that detailed explanation. So what does a typical day look like for you?
There's no such thing as a typical day. It tends to start early in the morning because I'm in the Seattle area and I have clients that are on the East Coast and also in the UK, and Germany. So, I have to get up pretty early to check in with them, see what's going on with just the day-to-day business. And then my team is also remote. So a lot of the people that I work with are all over the United States. So I do tend to get up pretty early and do check-ins. I would say a big part of my day is strategic. I'm spending a lot of time working on strategy for my clients, that's where it's all, starting. And I'd say, it's not a typical day. I mean, some days may end early, some days may go late. I tend to work on weekends as well, but that's the life of a founder and a creative.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And so how long is Wilder 2 founded, and what years?
We were founded in 2012, so we're 13 years old, and we started off as a full service agency. Back in those days, we were building a lot of websites because that was definitely a need in the marketplace. And then we also evolved a little bit and got more into the lead gen and demand gen, digital advertising, that sort of thing. And then we were always doing video. Video was always a piece of what we offered, but here lately we've been doing a little more of that because people are, of course, well aware that video is just essential to any marketing strategy. And any communication strategy. So we're doing a lot more video, which is really great. We have one video team here in Seattle to help with local work. And then I have a team in New York and a team in Los Angeles.
Okay, awesome. And so obviously you've told me a little bit about your experience. So you were into the music industry beforehand, before you actually got into marketing. Is that correct?
Yeah, I studied music in school. I studied composition and went to New York and was working as a musician. And how I got into marketing was, I was actually doing marketing before I even knew what marketing was, because I was always the one trying to get people to come to our concerts when I was in school. So I did a lot of just grassroots, guerrilla style marketing even in those days. And then when I moved to New York, when I didn't have music jobs, I was working in ad agencies and just as a freelancer. And I learned copywriting in New York with some of the bigger agencies there. And then it just sort of progressed from there. I always loved the marketing side because it's very creative and, it kind of scratches the same itch, if you will. And, I don't really see much separation between the two. I just do the creative work. I love it.
It's really incredible that you have passion for this industry and now you're in the marketing space, helping other people who have passion for this industry as well. So you can very much so relate with them.
Exactly. And because certain companies that I work with, I actually use their products when I make music. So it actually gives me a great insight into the kind of audiences that they want to talk to and the things that I find interesting about their products. What's really fascinating with anything technical, the folks that work on the client side that may have designed it or built it or engineered it, they're very close to it. And they oftentimes need an outside observer to say, yeah, that's all cool. But do you know what really is interesting about this product? And it's XYZ. And that's happened quite a bit. And it's just an outsider's perspective. There's a book I read a long time ago called Made to Stick, and I recommend it to anybody who's interested in marketing. It's not a super new book. I would say it might be 20 years old. They have common sort of explanation for what it's like within companies. They call it cursed by knowledge. And it's the idea that you as the client, the person working on the product, you know the thing so well and you've spent so much time with it that you think, well, it's just obvious why everyone needs this. But the audience doesn't actually know anything about your product. So you actually have to take a huge step back and come at it from a standpoint of, um, what does the audience actually need to know? And the other thing that I found is clients tend to want the audience to hear everything about the product, when in fact, we can't handle everything. It's too much. So there needs to
Mhm.
be one thing. And there's this famous story, you may know it. Steve Jobs was talking to his advertising agency. This is back when they created the iPod. And he was rattling off all these things that the advertising needed to say. And the creative director at the time took 3 or 4 pieces of paper, wadded them all up, and threw them all at Steve Jobs at once and said, catch. And of course, he didn't catch them all. And then it clearly makes the point you can't catch everything that's thrown at you. So then he throws one, and obviously he catches it. The point is, it's one thing. And with the iPod, if you remember, the original copy or messaging about the first iPod was 10,000 songs in your pocket, which is a brilliant, brilliant way of explaining what the iPod is. You don't need any more. What? 10,000 songs in my pocket? Tell me more about that. And then that's just, one example of how great Apple is at marketing.
Oh, I see. So you've kind of taken a little bit of that concept and kind of put it into your own business as well.
I try to. And the funny thing is, it's very hard for marketing agencies to market themselves.
Well, yeah.
You're either always working on client work, or when you do get time, you're like, okay, what do I want to say about myself? And there's this weird sort of thing that you experience when you're trying to market yourself or your own business. And I think I've done pretty well with it because I've survived for 13 years, but it's still a challenge. I'm working on it right now. As a matter of fact, I was taking a master class earlier this week on delivering on a personal brand, like creating a personal brand and what should it be and so forth. So I'm always learning. I think that's one of the most important things I would say to any person out there who may be thinking about starting an agency, or maybe at the beginning stages of an agency. Always be learning.
I completely agree with you. And that's kind of a really, really cool fact about you as well. Even though you've been in this space for such a long time, you never stop to learn. So I think it's fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I love to learn. I mean, it's not any burden on me, but at the same time, I recognize it's really an important aspect for all of us in marketing. And another reason is marketing is continually changing. So you have to stay on top of what's happening.
And what major shifts are you seeing in your industry right now at this moment?
Well, of course, AI is huge.
Yeah.
It's the elephant in the room. Everyone is talking about, the disruption that AI will create. And I certainly understand that. But I use AI, and my team uses AI as inspiration. We don't use it to replace copywriters or designers or any of that. We still believe in human beings doing that work. And there is nothing like being able to data dump something into AI and generate perspectives and ideas in seconds that you would have taken a day to figure out. It's just that powerful. So I'm always encouraging people to jump on the AI bandwagon, but not allow it to displace them. Rather, get yourself coached up on it, learn about it, learn how you can use it to your best ability.
I completely agree with you there. I think businesses that will utilize AI will stand out. It doesn't mean they will lose the human touch. You will still have that, and it doesn't mean you'll be replaced. But I think businesses using AI will definitely stand out.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think anytime there's a disruptive technology, there's always going to be some people that are displaced. It's just a natural thing. I've been talking to a founder here in Seattle that's created a company that will basically make entry-level coding jobs, if not obsolete, nearly obsolete. And that's obviously very disruptive, and it's also disturbing to those young people who are in college right now studying computer science. So what I would say to folks in that space, which is related to marketing, of course, is jump into AI as quickly as you can and learn as much as you can and make it your tool, make it your differentiator.
I mean, since AI came out, when was it around? What, a couple years ago? When it really
Yeah.
started to get out to the population. And every day since then, I follow these AI news, and every single day, the toolless schools just come out. And it's just like, it's a rapid growth, you know? If you
Yes.
don't stay on top of it, it's just like you blink and there's something new that's come out already.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, it is. And also, there are tools, right, that AI, can become, for example, in lead generation. That's something that AI can simplify for an agency and make it much, much more reasonable to do sales. And of course, a minute ago, I said always be learning. I would also say to any agency founder, agency, anyone out there who's thinking about starting an agency, be prepared to sell every day because you have to. I've made this mistake a couple of times where I wasn't keeping my pipeline full of prospects and leads, and it's really challenging when that happens. So you've got to keep your pipeline full. I go to at least one networking event every week here in Seattle, and I encourage everyone to get out of their office and go meet people. That's the other part. I can't do that for you. The actual human interaction between two people, you meeting someone and having the opportunity to tell them about your company and what you do and what makes you special, one to one or, in a small group, is still very powerful. And it's something I encourage everyone to take on.
I think that's a very insightful comment you've made there. So you recommend for people always to go out there and make sure they constantly sell. So even though they've got a lot of clients to deal with right now, it's not going to be a constant, is it? Because people come and leave all the time in your
Well,
business.
if you remember the great series Mad Men, you remember that Don Draper famously said, you start losing a client the day you sign them.
Interesting comment there. So AI generated creative and copy are everywhere now, as we've slightly discussed as well. How is that trend changing the way agencies like yours deliver value?
Well, number one, we have to deliver value by providing creative solutions that AI can't do, right? So we know that if I tell AI to write a blog post about a certain subject, it will do that. And it will do it very quickly. And if you use it properly, you will get it to create a blog post that is like the fourth or fifth iteration is better than the first. I think that what a lot of people do is they take the first iteration or the first draft and they say, here it is. And I don't think that's the way to go. I think you have to probe, drive it, make it work for you. Like tell it, no, I want it to be a little more casual. I want it to be a little more fun. I want it this, I want that. And then, of course, as a old copywriter myself, I'm never going to just take that. I'm going to take it and I'm going to use it and I'm going to turn phrase or move something or restructure things so that it really is still mine. But I remember, way before AI, when I would have to write copy, the blank page is intimidating. And, I'd actually use Google. I would use Google and search, topics just to get my mind going about what can I write about? What's the perspective here? And I just think that when it comes to working in that space, doing communications and marketing around products and services, it's AI is a trap. If you think, oh, I'm just going to tell it to write me a blog post about something and then just take that and use it. Because the other thing is, I think a lot of people can tell when something is AI, right? I think that they can sense that I don't think a human wrote this. And there were, in the earlier days of AI, there were certain little telltales that you could see, like it would use a certain word or phrase that humans really didn't use. And it would be like, oh, and I can't remember exactly what they were, but I remember one was like symphony of something. It would say, this creates a symphony of something. And I was like, no one talks like that. So, and it's getting better, right? I mean, we're on to GPT-5 and it is a lot better than 4 when it comes to that sort of stuff. But I think you use it as a springboard. I don't think you take it carte blanche.
Interesting perspective. I think definitely for me with ChatGPT 4, it was the dashes that really put me off. Yeah, that was the one kind of telltale. Oh yeah, that's
I've got
GPT.
I've got something funny about that. So I actually told my agent to stop using M dashes, and it responded, "Okay, I will M dash as soon as whatever." It used an M dash in the answer. I'm like, "You did that on purpose, didn't you?" And it responded to
You,
me and said, "Yes, I did." Weird,
yeah,
right?
like you try to tell it, don't do that, and then it still does it. I don't know. It was some kind of an issue in the program. I think so, but
Yeah.
GPT-5 is definitely much better on that. But it does occasionally still use them.
There's some really funny stuff out there about M dashes. If you're a geek like me around language and writing, it's a McSweeney's thing about the M dash. Go Google it. You'll find it.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely do that after this call.
It's written from the perspective of the M dash, and it's all
Okay.
about, well, I was here long before AI came along.
Yeah. Okay. So, what's working well for you right now, and what's been frustrating?
What's been frustrating? I'll be honest with you. I think the most frustrating thing right now, at least in the United States, is the state of the economy and the lack of certainty around economic policy. I have a lot of clients that manufacture in China, or some of them manufacture where you are in the UK, or their products are coming from different countries. The tariffs and the up and down and the are we on, are we off has just been a really, really challenging thing for the brands. And because of that, there's been a reluctance to engage in marketing services because if you think about it, if I don't know how much something's going to cost me or my customer, how can I market it? It's a really challenging thing to do. So I would say, from a frustration point, and I tend not to complain about things, but just the economic climate here in the last, what are we in, 8, 9 months? It's been a lot of challenge for us.
I completely understand. I mean, it's such a complex kind of subject, the tariffs and what's happening in the USA right now. But I'm sure many businesses, not just marketing agencies, are struggling with this.
Yeah, yeah.
Honestly, I
Well,
do.
and then there's some companies where they're literally like, well, I don't know if I can stay in business because the cost, like some companies, they'll get parts from China and they will actually assemble them here. And the cost of the parts could be such that they can't really demand the additional cost from the customer. Let's say they have a product that's $199 and tariffs will result in them needing to increase their price to $299. Well, their market doesn't support a $100 increase in the product. Maybe because there are competitors that are considered to be a little bit better than they are, and maybe they're a value brand, something like that. So there's all these different complex things that go around pricing. Pricing is, I mean, you could go major in pricing. It's a very, very important and complicated aspect to marketing, and one of the 4 Ps, right? And it has a lot to do with how things are made. And a lot of people just don't really realize what goes into manufacturing and how that affects marketing.
I mean, I think the people of USA thought that it will be better for them. I mean, that's how it was promoted as, wasn't it? That it will be better for them to be in business in USA, but really it's become worse for the people, I believe, hasn't it?
Well, and also like it's a laudable goal to say, yes, let's manufacture more in the United States. I don't have a problem with that. But this isn't the way you would do it. Like you wouldn't just say, okay, we're going to punish all these brands that manufacture overseas. The economy is too globalized to take that approach and have it work out. I saw a really interesting podcast by Scott Galloway who was talking about, he had somebody on talking about manufacturing, and he was talking about what it would take to make an iPhone in the United States. And one of the things that they said is, well, number one, it will never happen. We don't have the infrastructure. And more importantly, we don't have the people. They were talking about the thousands of people it takes just to make an iPhone and the very, very skilled labor that takes to make an iPhone. And the reason that they're made where they're made is because they have the infrastructure, but they also have the people who have been trained and have the ability to do the work. We don't have any of those things, but let's just assume we could wave a magic wand and say that we do have all those things. Okay, fine. So now we have the factory in the United States and we have all the people. Well, what are the wages going to be for all those people? They're not going to be what they are in China. Oh, what's the iPhone going to cost? Well, they already cost over $1,000. They're going to cost $5,000, $6,000, who knows? And then, well, are you going to spend that much money on an iPhone? Nobody wants that. So it's one of those things where if you really want to manufacture in the United States, you would have to invest a lot of money. And it wouldn't be because you're taxing, which is what a tariff is. You wouldn't be because you're taxing the American people to do it. That would be regressive, and it wouldn't be the right thing. The right thing to do would be invest government funds and give incentives, which is what we've been doing for years. And it's not like we don't manufacture in the United States. We do, but there's a lot of things that are made overseas. And they have that technical capability. Anything in electronics, it's just like that. I think that ship has sailed. Maybe you could get it back in 10, 20 years, depending on what it is. But
Yeah.
it's not going to happen overnight, and tariffs are regressive, so that's a big frustration.
Yeah. Look, sorry, getting into the politics a little bit there, but
Yeah,
it's an
it's fine.
interesting subject as well, I have to say, and there's a lot to dispute, isn't there?
Well, it's economic more than it is political. I mean, it's a political figure doing the tariffing, but the there were tariffs before President Trump. I mean, we had tariffs already. Tariffs are not a new idea. It's just that they were not very much. They were 2% or 5%. We didn't feel the tariff, and neither did the manufacturer, and neither did the brand. It was just sort of a cost of doing business. So that's really the difference is not so much in the concept itself, but in the application and the amount.
So we talked about the frustrations that are happening right now that you're facing with your company as well. What about anything that's working well at the moment? Is there any positives?
I would much rather talk about that. Thank you. So what's working well, I think, is, as I mentioned, I had an opportunity to start to invigorate my own marketing and my own selling. And I'm meeting a lot of really, really interesting people here in the Seattle area. It's a tech center. There's a very, very exciting community of startups who are in this area, and in a lot of different industries. I mean, everybody knows Seattle is a software and a hardware hub because of Microsoft and Boeing and Amazon, et cetera. But T-Mobile, someone else I should mention. And so there's just a lot of talent here, engineers, software engineers, programmers. There's a lot of talent. There are a lot of people being let go right now. So those folks, if they're in a certain position where maybe they've been at a company like Microsoft for 15, 20 years, they've probably got a sizable Microsoft investment. They are people I've been meeting and saying, hey, I want to start something new. I'm going to take some of the cash that I have and I'm going to start something up. I'm going to bootstrap it. One company I've been talking to, it's all ex-software engineers from Microsoft. They saw a need in the marketplace and they thought they could solve it. So they came together and they each kicked in, a certain amount of money and bootstrapped their way to a product. And now they're looking for venture funding. So it's a really exciting time right now in the space. Even though there's disruption, there's still innovation.
Of course, yeah. And for your agency right now, what are the metrics that you're focusing on improving?
So we do a really good job of retaining clients once we are in the pitch mode, right? Once we meet them, we tend to sign them. If we can get over the initial challenges and objections, you meet people and they'll be like, "Oh, we don't have a budget right now." That's always one. And then another one is, well, we like to have our marketing team internally. We don't really work with outside companies. There are, a couple of sort of, just sort of like obstacles that once I overcome those, then we tend to sign them. So I would say where we want to improve is in our ability to actually have those conversations and get the lead flow moving in the right direction. So qualifying the leads, making sure that they're the right company for us in terms of our ideal client profile. And then once we have a conversation and start talking about what they really need, it tends to go our way.
In regards to client acquisition a little bit, wasn't it? Because you mentioned it's important to always have sales, so you always have new revenue coming in.
Right.
Is that correct?
Right. Well, it is because you don't know when something, even though you have a contract, and this is something, any experienced agency owner knows, just because you have a contract, it doesn't mean that the client won't walk. I mean, it does happen that especially if they have a financial downturn, the first thing they're going to do is say, well, we got to shut that off. We can't afford that. And that's, of course, the wrong thing to do, right? If you have a financial downturn, shutting down your marketing is not, not advisable, but people still do it. And so that's happened to us a few times. And even though you might have a 30-day out, that doesn't mean they're going to pay you. You can write in all that stuff if you want, and then you can ask yourself, well, what would I do in that situation? Well, there's really no great answer because you don't want to burn the bridge, right? You would maybe want to work with them again in the future. So if you go and sue them, you're probably not going to work with them ever again. And it'll cost you a lot of money to sue them, maybe more than they owe you. So that's another thing. So there's not a lot of really great options for a small agency if a client has to you know, either end the agreement prematurely, or sometimes, maybe it's a 6-month agreement and they say, yeah, we're all done. We're not going to move forward. That happens too sometimes. So you've always got to have people in the pipeline. It's just, it's just the number one thing. I would say number one, if you're starting out, I would give you two pieces of advice. One, always be selling. And two, find a good accountant because you're going to be dealing with taxes and all the different permutations that go into that and financing and all the things that you're going to need. You need, unless you know that world really well, find someone who knows it really well.
Interesting. No, very good information there. So currently, how do you ensure that your pipeline's always full as well? What do you use organic traffic? Obviously, because you've been in the industry for a while. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on.
I honestly, traffic matters. We're a HubSpot agency, so we have, HubSpot as, our CRM, but it's also our, all our analytics are hooked up to it. But if I'm being honest, a lot of the work that we get tends to be one-to-one. Maybe we get a lead that comes through the website, or maybe we get an outreach, on LinkedIn or something else. But where I tend to do most of my business is in getting to know someone, talking about their business, the old fashioned way, one-to-one, word of mouth. I think you still need the pipeline and I think you need to do lead gen, but it's a shotgun approach, right? And, back when I first started the agency, I went to probably about 6 trade shows a year, and I would always get at least one client from the trade show, which is why I kept going. And then we had COVID and the trade show thing kind of shut down. And now my experience, I don't go to nearly as many as I used to because my experience has been since COVID that a lot of the companies that are at any given trade show have pulled back. They are there because they feel they need to be there. So they don't want to not be there, but they may not send their most senior people. They may send a marketing manager instead of a marketing director. Well, the marketing director is who I need to talk to, and it's probably who all of your audience wants to talk to, or VP of marketing, whatever the senior role is. That's the person that's going to make a decision about hiring an outside agency. So the actual prospects at trade shows aren't always like they used to be. And then the other thing that I find very interesting, and this could be just the trade shows I've been going to, but there used to be a lot more theater at a trade show. There used to be a lot more hype, publicity, promotion. A lot of it is gone. Now it's just like, yeah, we set up our stand, we put our products out, and we expect people to walk by and come and check us out. And my experience is that you've got to have something to draw in an audience at trade shows. Now, why am I talking about that? Well, because I think one-on-one is still the way I have had most of my client success. So I've had to rethink how would I replicate that without all the trade shows? And the answer is, as I mentioned, here in the Seattle area, I've been going to a lot more networking events. There's an event here called Seattle Tech Week. It just happened, and it's like a week-long extravaganza where everybody is doing everything and meeting people, and everybody wants to meet people. And there was a cruise around the Puget Sound that I went on that was amazing. That was a sponsored event. Look, there's some showmanship, some stage management, having a cruise that goes around, and everybody that's there they get to talk to you. You're an audience that can't get off the boat until the boat gets back to shore. So they got, you're a captive audience, literally. So I appreciated that. So I think that's what you have to do now. I think you have to go and find where people are meeting, where entrepreneurs are, where founders are, because those are the ones that need marketing, and they don't have it all figured out yet. an enterprise company, and I do work with some, they've got huge marketing teams, and our deal there is completely different. It's like, okay, where are you missing something? Like, you don't have the capability to do X, Y, or Z, or maybe you have the capability, but you want to get an outside expert to help you with it. It's just a different conversation.
So you prefer to go in person to the networking events and get your target audience and make them aware of what you do, how you can potentially help them.
Yeah, but then it's backed up with, lead generation technology. Again, the CRM is there, or the outreach is there. My LinkedIn, is dialed in the way I want it to be. All those things, that all still matters because if they meet you and you exchange contact information and they're actually interested in knowing more about you, they're going to research you. So that stuff's all got to be locked in. It's not like you don't need that. It's just, in my experience, the personal introduction or the personal contact tends to be the one that leads to more business. Not always, but tends to be that way. And even, these lead generation companies that I talk to, they're all trying to get you meetings. That's their number one thing, is they're trying to get you meetings from leads. So it's the same principle. It's just a little different approach.
I see. And apart from going out to networking events, and that's kind of like your cold out, isn't it? You want to make them aware that you're here, you're available if they need you. Apart from the networking events, what else do you do to make your audience kind of aware that you're there? Is there any
Well,
other method?
I haven't done this yet, but I'm about to start doing a lot more content online. And one of the reasons I wanted to be here today was to have content online about my approach, my expertise, my experience. So I'll be doing a lot more of that in the coming months. Sort of building my plan and getting the brand story kind of locked in. But this is an interesting point. I was in this masterclass, as I mentioned earlier this week. And one of the things that he said is just start using your brand and you will figure out what it actually stands for by using it, as opposed to trying to figure out what it is and then going forward, right? And it's an interesting thing because we all think, oh, we have to have our story dialed in. We have to know our brand pillars and our brand promise and all these different things. And I'm not saying that work isn't important, but it's an interesting thought to go out and tell your story without having all that in place and see what reaction and feedback comes back to you. What resonates will actually help you figure out, oh, this is where we are. This is what we're actually getting people to respond to.
Yeah, no, that's very brilliant. I did have a look, and I did do a bit of my research as well on your LinkedIn and on your Facebook page as well. I have noticed a little bit of content, but I didn't actually see any form of video content. Like it's good to put a face to the business, and I'm very glad you actually realized this is something you need to do to move forward. So yeah, a very
Yeah.
good step forward, I would say so. And this is obviously, hopefully, helping towards that. So yeah,
Yeah, for
brilliant.
sure. And it's one of those things that as it takes time to produce video and it's, it's necessary and it doesn't have to be glitzy and it doesn't have to be super polished. In fact, a lot of people prefer that it not be, but it does need to be clear and it does need to be organized in some fashion. So there is something that needs to go into it. And then the actual thing is, well, what are you going to talk about? And I think that's really the number one thing that I've been working on is what will I actually talk about?
It's good to do a little research survey in between your current customers and maybe some new customers, and just finding out what would they be interested in finding out.
Yeah.
So in moving towards your future goals with your agency, where would you see yourself in the next 6 to 12 months?
I think we're going to have a lot of that content we were just talking about
Mm.
out. And I expect that we will have a number of new clients that we're excited about. There's a few that we've been talking to, again, not to get to the negative side too much, but they're in a status right now where they're sort of holding and they're not really ready to move forward with new plans until they figure out, what the environment is going to be like. So my expectation for the next 6 to 12 months is that a lot of that's going to be out of the system and we're going to be moving forward. And gosh, I just really hope that the economy stays in a good growth stage. And there's some headwinds that we don't know about, but I'm expecting things to be okay. But here's the thing. I've been through some recessions here after 13 years. I've managed to weather them by pivoting my strategy, and saying, okay, well, if the economy is not good, then what are you going to do to continue to grow? Right. And that, that has led to some really good conversations. So I feel like we're a little bit recession proof, Don't know if that's on the horizon or not, but in any event, I feel like in the next 6 to 12 months, there'll be a tremendous amount of growth for the agency.
Okay, brilliant. No, awesome. And then if you could solve one major challenge for your agency and you had a magic wand and you could just go poof, that's gone, what would it be?
I'd clone myself. Yeah, the hardest part of running your own agency as a small, a small creative agency is that there's only one of you, and you kind of have to do everything. I have had partners in the past. Some worked out better than others, but in the end, it was always me that had to close. And I understand that. The people want to talk to the principal. Our agency is. I deal with the clients. I don't have a client manager. I don't send stuff off to other people. That may change in the future if we continue to grow. But right now, I'm the one. So there's only one of me, and there's only so many hours in the day. So, yeah, that would be the magic wand. But I do think eventually I will find that I'm going to have additional people that are handling client service and are handling creative work or handling sales. If I were going to give something away, it would be sales. Even though I enjoy it a lot and I think I'm pretty good at it, I really enjoy creative work. And I think that's really where my heart is.
I see. No, interesting. That is very, very interesting. So if people were interested in looking at your services or inquiring more, where could they find you?
Well, the website is wilder2.com, and that's a number two. So wilder2.com. And you can sign up for, I call it Warrior Wednesdays. It's for marketers, and it's a newsletter that we put out. You can sign up on our website if you like, and you'll start getting emails from us about different things about marketing, and it's free. Or you can just email me at mark, at wilder2.com.
Okay, we'll put all them links below in the YouTube channel anyway, so no worries about that at all. So thank you very much for this podcast call. I'll end the recording here.